Foucault and the Government of Disability offers a compelling exploration of Foucault's work, particularly his concepts of biopower and governmentality, and their relevance to understanding disability experiences. Tremain adeptly introduces these concepts, highlighting how biopower differs from traditional forms of power and operates through productive constraints, allowing individuals to act while simultaneously constraining them. She emphasizes the role of liberalism in perpetuating these normalizing strategies, framing them as a form of governmentality that shapes societal institutions, norms, and individual behaviors. Through engaging chapters, the authors delve into the ways in which disabled individuals navigate and resist the effects of biopower. They illustrate how disability becomes entwined with broader discourses, including legal and welfare systems, notions of citizenship, patriarchy, and colonialism. Importantly, the book sheds light on how violence can emerge not as a result of overt coercion, but rather as a consequence of the normalization of certain abilities and identities, which in turn define notions of humanity and citizenship. Part I of the book delves into the multifaceted nature of epistemologies and ontologies, expanding beyond mere theoretical concepts to encompass lived experiences, practices, and subjectivities. Sullivan's examination of a center for paraplegics reveals how individuals are shaped by medical and moral discourses, striving to embody the ideal of the self-caring para. Similarly, Yates explores power dynamics in a care service, where individuals navigate a complex web of expectations and prohibitions, experiencing both compliance and resistance. These chapters highlight the pervasive influence of normalizing strategies, which extend beyond isolated incidents of poor practice to shape broader societal discourses. Erivel's analysis of court scenarios spanning a century underscores the ongoing quest to define and categorize individuals as free and autonomous subjects, with implications for assigning culpability. The contested nature of the autism label further exemplifies how categories are constructed and perpetuated, influencing educational programs and societal perceptions. Kumari Campbell's exploration delves into the dichotomy between the free and autonomous legal citizen and the marginalized other, whose existence challenges societal norms. Here, disability is positioned as supplementary to ability, reinforcing the binary opposition between normative and non-normative identities. In Part 2, titled Histories, the chapters elucidate the multifaceted nature of discourses surrounding disability, revealing their dynamic and evolving character. Carlson's exploration traces the transition from the 19th century practice of institutionalizing individuals labeled as feeble-minded to the 20th century emphasis on measuring intelligence quotient, IQ. By highlighting the incoherence and consequences of such classification systems, Carlson challenges the notion of speaking on behalf of marginalized individuals. Berger's historical analysis sheds light on the emergence of institutionalization during the Enlightenment era, noting its absence in earlier periods. Focusing on 19th-century institutions for deaf children in America, Berger underscores the intricate connections between architecture, scientific advancements, religious ideologies, and nationalistic discourses. These institutions served to produce compliant subjects deserving of charity, while some individuals resisted and continued to contribute to society in their own way. Snigurich delves into the prohibition of exhibiting disabled individuals in 19th-century France, as medical discourse supplanted superstitious and religious beliefs. The shift from public spectacles to private spaces reflects the evolving legal and societal attitudes towards disability. Moreover, performers transitioned from showcasing their artistic talents to highlighting their self-made achievements, aligning with the emerging ethos of meritocracy. In Part 3, titled Governmentality, the analysis delves into the intricate relationship between individual autonomy and overarching societal practices, revealing that personal freedom is inherently intertwined with social dynamics. Waldschmidt explores the evolving landscape of human genetics, when new technologies and rationalities reframe individuals within categories of risk, posing potential threats to population security. The role of the genetic counselor shifts from offering advice to empowering individuals to make decisions within the context of perceived risks. Simons and Maschelain shift the focus to education, advocating for inclusive practices that consider all stakeholders in a diverse democratic society. Rather than solely focusing on the inclusion of disabled children, they emphasize the importance of matching unique individuals with appropriate educational opportunities, with a strong emphasis on fostering participatory skills. Drinkwater's examination of supported housing within the UK policy framework of valuing people underscores the complex interplay between valuing individuals and subjectifying them within predetermined frameworks. Staff members, while ostensibly valuing the person, engage in practices that aim to shape behavior and integrate citizens into existing constitutional structures. In Part IV, titled Ethics and Politics, authors offer critical perspectives on the exclusionary practices that persist in society despite legal requirements and successful lawsuits. Anderson's examination of American sports stadiums reveals how norms of normalcy and deviance are embedded in various aspects of stadium design and accessibility. Despite legal mandates, the physical layout, ticketing systems, and booking procedures perpetuate segregation between individuals perceived as normal and those deemed deviant. Goggin and Newell explore the proliferation of telecommunications and media convergence, highlighting the persistent barriers to accessibility despite legal obligations. Instead of investing in comprehensive accessibility measures, successive laws have often favored superficial add-on technologies, further marginalizing disabled individuals. Through these analyses, the workings of biopower become evident, showcasing the subtle yet pervasive ways in which disabled people are excluded from mainstream society. Part IV also examines strategies of resistance and transgression in the face of oppressive norms and practices. Allen proposes an ethical framework for inclusive education, emphasizing dialogue and self-reflection among both non-disabled and disabled students. Rather than fostering mere sympathy, the goal is to cultivate critical thinking skills and ethical awareness in all students. In contrast, Morgan presents the fictional narrative of gender dimorphotopia, which exposes the intricate interplay between intimate micro-practices and overarching societal structures. By challenging naturalizing theories that perpetuate patriarchal violence, the narrative seeks to amplify subjugated knowledges and disrupt dominant discourses, despite the risks of facing hostility and further marginalization. In Part V, titled Disability and Governmentality in the Present, Peirce offers a genealogical autoethnography that challenges the prevalent supercrip narrative. She recounts her experience of being trained to embody the image of an inspirational athlete, rejecting this docile subjectivity in favor of embracing the identity of the revolting gimps, who resist societal norms. Peirce argues against the notion that empowerment can be achieved through engagement with disciplinary practices, advocating instead for a radical reimagining of social change. Similarly, Maguire draws parallels between the war on autism and the war on terror in the United States, highlighting the militaristic rhetoric and policies that frame disability advocacy as a threat. The militarization of disability discourse perpetuates a culture of fear and division, further marginalizing disabled individuals. Maguire's analysis underscores the dangers of adopting combative approaches to advocacy, which can inadvertently reinforce oppressive systems of power. In the final two chapters, authors confront existential questions about the value of life and the ethics of assisted suicide for disabled individuals. Taylor explores the unrecognized violence and unexpected grief experienced by those with learning disabilities when their humanity is questioned. She calls for a suspension of universalizing judgments and a critical examination of the conditions that give rise to such debates. Kolarova interrogates the concept of a good death and its implications for disabled people, highlighting the underlying white supremacist rationality in the outsourcing of care services. The book also engages with debates surrounding Foucault's work, particularly regarding the materiality of power and the body. Hughes critiques Foucault's perceived neglect of the material body in favor of a phenomenological approach that recognizes the body as both subject and object. He argues for an emancipatory conception of power in disability politics. Conversely, Allen contends that Foucault's work does address the body, emphasizing the social construction of both discourses and subjectivities. Gogin and Newell identify persistent forms of repressive power and challenge the notion that oppression lacks a central locus.